What a great time to be a Giant, be a fan of the Giants.
Like, we have something going here. We're building something special, and, you know, you can see it from the outside and inside. It's even more beautiful.
Reflecting on everything that got me here, just to see that uniform, and, you know, I watched, that's the team I watched the most growing up because my dad was a Giants fan, so.
Once a Giant, always a Giant. For me, it's only a Giant.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of All In with Art Stapleton, a New York Giants podcast brought to you by NorthJersey.com and The Record. I am your host, Art Stapleton. We have reached week 15, and somehow, some way, the formerly 2-8 New York Giants are suddenly relevant again. To what extent and to what extreme? Well, that depends on perspective and how you want to see things. But the reality is that the New York Giants, on a 3-game winning streak, sparked by undrafted rookie Tommy DeVito, you may have heard of him, are now one game out of the 7th and final playoff spot in the NFC. It's true. You could shake your head and roll your eyes, and I know some of you are doing that right now, but that's the reality. The New York Giants are one game away from being tied for the final wild card spot in the NFC. Now, the group ahead of them includes the Saints, this week's opponent, at 6-7, 5 teams. That's a lot. Giants play 2 of them, Saints, and then on New Year's Eve, they will play the LA Rams. There is a scenario this weekend, and not as outrageous as you may think, that the New York Giants on Monday could be in the 7th spot in the NFC playoff picture. Now, first things first, the Giants enter the Superdome in New Orleans on Sunday, and it's Giants-Saints. On today's show, an interview with Xavier McKinney, one of the captains, and boy, he's had an interesting year, huh? Being thrust into the middle, partly by his own doing, of the Brian Dable, Wink Martindale, quote, not in a bad place relationship, or not in a good place relationship, in a bad place relationship. You know what I mean. To now, the last month or so, during this winning streak, Xavier McKinney's played absolutely fantastic. He's played at the level that the Giants need him to play. He's the emotional leader on this team, especially on defense. And we talked about his propensity for wanting to be original and wanting to be unique. I think you'll find that very interesting as part of our interview. And I think that kind of speaks to where he is as a player. And he talks about focusing on the moment, focusing on details, not thinking ahead to next year, not thinking ahead to free agency potentially, since this is his final year of his rookie contract. And just focusing on the New Orleans Saints and the New York Giants. And that's where his focus is. So without further ado, let's get to my interview at his locker in the locker room on Thursday after practice with Xavier McKinney. Been reading up, looking back on old stories that we wrote, even going back to college for you, and I came across one that talked about how, I guess it was you and your brother talked about being original and unprecedented, I think was the word you used. Could you kind of talk to me about that, and what that meant to you, and how important is it for you to kind of be original?
Yeah, I think that's just how I grew up. That's how I was, taught, by my parents, both my parents, my grandparents, my uncle, just pretty much everybody in my family, taught me always be me, no matter the situation, no matter, what, just be who I am. And, I've always tried to do that. And with the unprecedented, it's just, we came up with that, not came up with it, but in a way, I wanted to do something that's never been done before. And obviously that's what that word even means. Just being great within myself, having our own dreams, trying to, do things that we've never seen in our family be done. And that's kind of what it meant. It wasn't really for outside, everything outside. It was just kind of more so of what we grew up around and what we saw growing up and the things that we had and didn't have, just trying to make anything and everything possible.
Kind of like inspiring
exactly.
to do that.
Exactly.
You've always struck me, and I've only known you for a couple of years, but that you thrive on the idea that you're not walking on the same path as everybody else. The idea that, you're going to do you and do your thing.
Yep.
How does that manifest itself on the field?
Everybody has their own story. So for me, it's just, running my own race. I know I want to be great. I know how great I want to be. So not worrying about, what other people, got going on, but just, focusing on myself, trying to better myself each and every day, and just staying the course, at all times. So, that's kind of how it just translates to the field. Just try to, be the best version of me that I can possibly be when I'm, in here in the locker room, in the meeting room, out there in practice on game day. So just trying to find ways to just keep improving.
I've seen you at the highs here, and I've seen you at what I would consider lows. I don't know if you look at it that way, but the last month or so, I don't know if I've ever seen you play as good this consistently all over the field. What clicked for you? Did something click?
I would say my second year, I thought I played really well, just consistently throughout.
It was kind of a different role, though.
It was definitely a different role, and obviously too, that second year was the first full year that I had. But nothing really clicked, man. Just knowing that I had to be better for my team, pretty much, and knowing that the standard that I hold myself to, I wasn't meeting my standard, and just trying to meet my standard and making sure that I was, improving and being better, not just for myself, but, for my teammates, for my coaches, for the organization, so we could win games. So that's really about it.
As far as, if you look at your film and what you've seen, what have you shown on film in the last couple of weeks that has really been a difference maker?
Man, I don't really know.
Because nobody knows your game better than you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just think, man, I've just been, really honing in on the details. Making sure that even to the small little things, small little details, just making sure I pinpoint that, making sure that I'm efficient in every way possible, making sure that I'm sharpening up my toolbox, just doing different things throughout practice, just making sure that everything is on point, making sure that it's smooth, and that's really about it, man. I'm just trying to play my game and not think about it too much, but just go out there and play.
Refresh my memory. I should know this. I meant to look it up before we came. Have you played in the Superdome before?
Yeah. We played. That was my second year.
Okay.
We played there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was the game. The game with Jabril.
Exactly. Yeah. So I played them once before my second year.
Not in college at all, though, right? When you played at LSU, did you guys play at LSU?
We did play in the Superdome, I think, one time. What year was that? I think it was my freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah, my freshman year, I think we played in the Superdome once, yeah.
So for this team to win 3 games in a row, I remember you stood here, it seemed like 3 weeks ago, the idea of saying you just want to win. That's it. You want to win. The fact that this team has kind of gotten on a little bit of a roll here, what does it mean for the guys here that, really haven't taken their eye off that ball?
Yeah, no, it's super important, man. It's been a boost for us, as a team, and obviously you can see it, when we go out there. But it's been super important to win games. Anytime you can just win games and string along the wins, it's just a better morale. Like you feel better. Everything it feels a lot better to win rather than losing. So, for us, we're just still trying to keep it, one day at a time, one game at a time, not trying to think too far into the future, not trying to think, behind and in the past. Just trying to focus on, being present, trying to be better each and every day. And, it's been helping us with having that mindset of just taking each day, just one day at a time and not thinking too far ahead and not thinking behind.
I know on the bye week I talked to you before about your tattoos and your new tattoos that you have. I saw somewhere that you said every tattoo has a purpose and a meaning for you. When did that come about? And do you kind of lean on certain tattoos in certain points in your life?
Yeah, I think that came about. Like, I'm a creative person. I like to call myself a visionary. I have a lot of creative thoughts, a lot of visions that I just think about for myself. So every time I do a tattoo, like it's always a meaning to why I do it. Whether that could be in that moment, or whether that was something that happened before, or whether that's something I feel like is gonna happen in the future. Whatever it is, it's always a meaning to it. And I just always try to make sure that it's kind of like the nature of me. Like sometimes I can't even help it. Like I don't like. Sometimes I don't want to create everything, but like I literally can't just get a tattoo and just be like I'm gonna just get it. Not like start thinking about it in my head. I'm like, damn, let me think about something where I can put it together and make it look cool. So that's just how I've always been pretty much my whole life. I'm not afraid to take chances. I'm not afraid to do different things. Like I said, I just try to be me and try to be creative as I can possibly be. And obviously that blends into the things that I want to do off the field as far as my fashion and just being in the art space. Obviously that helps a lot because it just helps. It feeds my brain. It keeps me in a way sane of outside of the football part of it. So it's super important for me. It's always been important for me, and I'll continue to do that.
Last one. I know you don't want to look too far in the future, but does this team have a legit chance at getting back to the playoffs?
We got to take it one day at a time, man. I think that's the biggest thing for me. I think another reason why I've been able to play well is not thinking about stuff in the future or thinking behind me, just literally taking it one day at a time, making sure that I get 1% better each day. And I think we've done a great job as a team, and even the coach, like just everybody, I think has been taking initiative and really putting it at focus to just take everything one day at a time, one meeting at a time, making sure that everything is clean, making sure that everybody's on the same page, and it's worked out really well for us. Appreciate you, Sean.
Well, special thanks to Xavier McKinney for joining me after practice on Thursday. And look, I think he's in a much better place than he was midway through the season. I think he was frustrated. I think maybe thoughts of why this defense wasn't playing well, why he wasn't playing well. And, maybe the future crept in a little bit, that he was thinking of that. And what would his contract look like? And would he be here? And was he valued here? Those are all my words, not his words. He didn't express those thoughts to me. But I kind of get that sense that once he's tried to, move away from the global view and just kind of focus in on the day-to-day, he started seeing gains in his game, and he's continued to progress. And he's been the player that I think the Giants thought they were going to get going into this year. And maybe even the player that he was before the bye week last year, and the accident and everything that happened with his hand. Let's not forget he made the big tackle to seal the game in Minnesota in the playoffs last year. Look, I'll admit it. There were times where we had interviews with Xavier earlier this year. The one that stands out is the one after Miami. And I knew he wasn't happy and he was frustrated. I just really couldn't pinpoint where his frustration lied. And yes, the 3 wins make a difference, but he's in a different place right now. And it's good to see because he's exactly what the Giants need at that spot. And I think he's improved his chances of getting a new contract. We'll see how that happens after the season. We'll see where he values himself, where his agent, Dave Mulligeta, values him. I mean, he's got a super agent, made that switch. So there's a little bit to be said about that. And does that align with what Joe Shane wants contract-wise? But that's all for a month from now, and even longer than that. At this point, McKinney's played well, and this defense is going to have to play well again down in the Superdome in New Orleans. But I hope you guys enjoyed that. Darren Waller back on the practice field. As I reported on Wednesday night, the practice window is open, 21 days. I think he's got a good chance to play on Sunday. We'll see how his hamstring responds. He was a limited participant in practice on Thursday. Big injury to keep an eye on for the Saints. Chris Olave, their star wide receiver. He did not practice for the second straight day, so we'll see if Olave gets back on the field on Friday, which would probably be a telltale sign as to whether or not he's going to play against the Giants. Rashid Shaheed, their speedster, wide receiver, return man, he should return this week, so we'll see how he factors in. But I think first and foremost, the Giants' defensive effort will really come down to Alvin Kamara. And can they make Derek Carr play timid if Derek Carr is the quarterback? If it's Jameis Winston, then obviously that'll be a different story. I'm not sure Jameis Winston's ever played timid, which kind of plays into Wink Martindale's defense as well. So hope you enjoyed today's episode. Again, thanks to Xavier McKinney, and we will be back from New Orleans on Sunday. Pre-game and post-game pods. Make sure you stay all in, because we're all in as well. The 5-8 New York Giants, a flicker of hope. Also still projected to have a top 10 pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. What a weird season. So whichever side of the coin you're on, you've still got hope. We'll talk to you next week. We'll talk to you this weekend from New Orleans.